oh, well, because
It was just,
Jessica was always saying, yeah, we're getting it going, we're getting it going. And so like in September. it seemed
yeah,
like-
You just.
no, it takes a long
Yeah.
time.
I've had some neighbors ask me about solar though, too, since I've got it. So
Something has gone.
I am not able to
You-
sell it. We got a solarized deal.
So you
Won't.
own
I don't
the
know where I am.
solar array or do you
Yes.
lease it? Okay, you own, okay.
Yep, I got it
Nice.
2 years ago,
Oh,
August.
Okay.
I-
You
I
did
should
get
have
went
a-
away.
Technical farmers said
An
if we're
article,
gonna have a
hopefully in
dry
the,
spell, it's better to have it in the spring.
Kane
because
County
it's
Connects about my
empty.
pollinator
Have it
garden.
in the summer because
And I'll have a little blurb about my solar in there too.
Is that what the visit was for? From the Conservation Foundation?
Yes, my pollinator garden.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it. I have a quite beautiful.
Well, it's not really, it's the first year in a pollinator garden, it's not very dramatic. It's just, actually, it's me standing in front of a sign now, because I got the conservation home. So,
Hey, Mark. Good morning.
Yeah.
Better than drilling a bunch of wells in your.
Both expensive.
Like valve structures aren't too bad.
No,
Yeah, it's pretty cheap, a lot cheap. You could put a lot of those in for the cost of a well.
that's true.
Good morning. I would like to bring this meeting of the Kane County Energy and Environmental Committee to order. I am Mavis Bates. And would you please call the roll?
Nikki, Allen,
Alan, present. Good morning.
Pius, good morning.
Morning.
Kai is present.
Molina, Strathman,
Strathman here.
Pirog, Shepro, Bates.
Here, definitely.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. So I would like to have an approval of the minutes from May 14th. May I have a?
Guys move.
Thank you.
Alan, second.
Thank you. Ellen, second. Call the roll, please.
Allen,
Alan, aye.
Pius,
Caius, yes.
Molina, Strathman.
yes.
Thank you.
Strathman, yes.
Nikki, Bates.
Bates, yes. Okay, thanks. So we will start with the environmental portion of our meeting. Ms. Wolnick?
Thank you. I have the June watershed report this morning. I know we skipped a couple months because of the packed agendas we had. So we're going to get back in the routine of each month doing a watershed report or a drinking water supply report. So this month we have a watershed report from Rob Linke. Excited to announce that he has become the chair of the Fox River Study Group Modeling Committee. That's the group that is working specifically on the technical side of modeling for the Fox River Implementation Plan update. It's anticipated that that report will be available for public comment this year and will be submitted to IEPA in December of 2022. The report will then become the guiding document that stakeholders in the Fox River watershed will be using to make management decisions about their activities that impact the Fox River's water quality, such as best management practices, wastewater treatment plant improvements, dam removal, and sediment and nutrient management from farm fields. And as you are aware, we're continuing on with our sampling of the farm field water quality, and hopefully that will wrap up in December. We're hopeful that we can get another grant for 2022 to continue that sampling through the RCPP program with Janice Hill. And that would certainly assist us in better showing the water quality from our agricultural areas. This year, as you're aware, there's a moderate drought in our area. So The sampling results are going to be skewed because of that. So it would be good to have a year of more normal rainfall to add to that drought year information. The Fox River Study Group itself is continuing to collect monthly samples at 7 sites on the Fox River and the mouth of 7 tributaries that drain into the Fox River. We are doing our sampling on the same date as those, so that can be used to add to the data that's being collected. Illinois State Water Survey is preparing a water quality trends analysis that will be available in the coming year. And they are continuing to monitor the pre-removal water quality and biological conditions above and below the Carpentersville Dam. I think we mentioned that in one of our previous reports. The construction and removal of the dam is not started yet, but that should be happening soon. In regards to the Indian Creek watershed, there's been great progress with the draft report, and the draft summary portion of the report is including the water quality modeling of the proposed BMPs that is coming this summer, along with some field investigations and inventory of the stream channel. This is one of our most highly urbanized watersheds, and so the best management practices are going to be key in that watershed to improve the water quality in Indian Creek. The Tyler Creek watershed is currently looking for additional funding from CMAP so they can do an updated watershed plan. The Tyler Creek Watershed Group key partners are the City of Elgin, the Village of Pingree Grove, and the Village of Gilberts. And our staff has been working closely and collaboratively with those municipalities to bring them into the discussion with that watershed group. So when the update is started, we have input from all 3 communities, and we're working currently to have a tour of the Village of Pingree Grove's wastewater treatment facilities for the coalition members this summer. And that completes my watershed report for this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chairman, I have a question. Alan?
Yes, please go ahead, Ms. Allen.
Ms. Walnick, does Pingree Grove do something in particular with their water treatment? I'm remembering that there was some environmental aspect. They had applied for riverboat money to try and help, but it's fuzzy in my head, and I just wondered if they were trying to do something out of the ordinary.
Not so much out of the ordinary. I can't speak to the riverboat request because I'm not aware of the details of that. But their treatment system is a typical lagoon type treatment system like we have in Mill Creek. And the intent was to irrigate as much of that water on the land as possible and only discharge when they absolutely need to. And so that's going back a couple years. My knowledge of that plant, I don't believe it's changed, but I could do a little bit more research and get back to you on that.
Well, and I'm coming out of the cold to ask you the question. That rings a bell, though. The riverboat grant was at least, not this year, at least a year ago. And it had to do with some special equipment having to do with, I think, either moving the water or like shoring up the land to hold the lagoon, something like that. Thank you.
I have a question, Ms. Walnick. Are we doing any special monitoring of the aquifer during the drought, or just regular testing?
We still have some of our well intel units deployed in Campton Township, and the ones in Sugar Grove are still active. We're currently seeking funding, and we sent in requests to Lauren Underwood's office and some of our other congressional representatives. We do have a study that was completed for a groundwater monitoring network like they have up in McHenry. So we know where the wells need to go and the monitoring equipment needs to go, but we don't have the funding to establish that network as of yet.
Okay, so maybe I can help you work on that. Would that, you and I should talk about that. Okay, so Underwood and Foster, and I have another question. Will there be is there anything that the county can do to regulate watering?
There is not. We don't have any authority, nor does any community have authority over individual wells. and we don't operate a water system ourselves. So the communities that do operate water systems, a lot of them have adopted lawn watering ordinances that require, like, usually even odds 6 to 9 when you're going to get the least amount of evaporation. And they all have provisions in there if they are seeing drops in their wells to go to a more serious level, like a green, yellow, red kind of situation, where they can ban all outdoor watering if necessary. We have not heard of any communities that are in that state as of yet. We will have an update from the Northwest Water Planning Alliance later this month. And usually communities will give their updates. I know the Fox River communities were concerned with water quality and the water levels in the Fox. And so the lower those levels get, the more opportunity those communities are going to need to use their the aquifer
Wells.
in their wells to supplement that water supply.
Do we ever do recommendations? Even if we have no, because my neighbors are watering their sidewalk this morning and with their automatic sprinklers, which just ticks me off. So do we make
Most
recommendations?
ordinances have a water waste in there. So if you are noticing and you're in a municipality, you're noticing an industrial facility and their heads are pointed out towards the roadway, you can usually report them, and then the community will contact that owner and tell them that they're wasting water, basically, if it's running off into the street or onto sidewalks.
So just call like 311 or, you know, where we have, or I could knock on their door and see what happens. You're watering your side
That would be the friendly thing to do.
and the street. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, since this is such an interesting and important topic? Mr. Caius.
You're that neighbor. Did they give you a timeline on the Carpentersville Dam? Just, I keep hearing it's soon.
That's what
And I know we're moving, but
Yeah, that's what we heard too. And with the water levels being so low, this is like the best time to do it. So yeah, I heard soon too.
get past the engineering part.
Oh, water levels are, yeah, I was kayaking Saturday and we spent a lot of time walking our kayaks to the next. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wolnick. Now, I would like to call on Karen Miller. We've got a treat today, a tree report. Go ahead, Karen.
Thank
ready?
you. Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. This morning I have invited Zach Wirtz, Community Coordinator for the Chicago Region Trees Initiative at the Morton Arboretum, to give us an update on the tree census and also the Plant Trees campaign.
All right, thanks so much, Karen. So hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. As you just heard, my name is Zach Wirtz, and I'm the Chicago Region Trees Initiative Community Coordinator. So my role at the CRTI is to provide outreach and education to public land owners and managers to improve policy, advocacy, and skills, and also provide resources about urban forestry to groups like yours. So I actually grew up just outside of the Chicago region near Rockford, and I recently returned to join the CRTI team after a number of years kind of working around different parts of North America. So I've only been with the CRTI for a couple of months now, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to chat with you all this morning. We can go to the next slide, please. So I was taught no matter how short a presentation you give, you should always have an agenda. So today I want to give a brief introduction, or hopefully more so a refresher on who the CRTI is, and then update all of you on the newest data from the 2020 tree census, which was conducted by the Morton Arboretum, and then share an exciting opportunity called Plant Trees for Communities that looks at tree planting around the Chicago region and to talk specifically about Kane County. So to begin, the CRTI is a multi-organizational partnership that covers the 7-county Chicago region with the main goal to build a healthier, more diverse regional forest and to increase canopy cover in our region. Overall, we look to improve the forests that surround us. So specifically, we aim to ensure that trees are healthier, more diverse, and more equitably distributed so they can provide needed benefits to all the people and communities in our region. Next slide, please. So much of our work is rooted in the CRTI Chicago Region Master Plan, which aims to improve the health and canopy of Chicago Region's forest by 2050. The plan, which kicked off in 2019, has 4 overarching goals: to inspire people to value trees, to increase the Chicago region's tree canopy, and to reduce threats to trees, like by increasing diversity and reducing invasive species, and also to enhance oak ecosystems. The master plan was designed to coincide with and kind of support our stakeholders and partner needs, goals, and strategies. So we do have a website that you're welcome to visit at chicagorti.org if you're interested in learning more about us or about our master plan. Go to the next slide, please. So as the Energy and Environmental Committee, I think I'm probably going to be preaching to the choir here, but trees are really critical to our lives. Tons of research has been done on what we call ecosystem services, or basically what natural elements like trees can provide to us. Trees can help people be healthier by filtering the air, removing pollutants that are harmful for us to breathe, reducing heat, getting people outside and active, and then reducing our mental stress and fatigue. Trees also help control things like stormwater runoff and actually can increase property values. So we consider trees to be critical infrastructure, just like roads, hospitals, and other buildings. But unlike built infrastructure, trees actually provide increased value over time. So I'd really love to see a road that provides more value as it gets older. So trees, as they grow, the amount and value of their benefits they provide grows as well. And mature trees always provide more benefits than young trees. And that'll be important when we talk later a little bit about that census information. Go to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the CRTI focuses on the 7 counties around the metro, which is shown here on this map. I was really pleased to see that some of these counties, like Kane, are already partner organizations of the CRTI. So my educational background is in the governance of urban forests, basically on how people make decisions about trees and who does what in that process. So for me, the idea of regional management that goes beyond municipal borders is really, really exciting. And as a side note, I actually used to work for a short time in the private tree care industry during the summers of my undergrad degree. And I spent a lot of time in the kind of St. Charles, Batavia area, and then all the way over to the west side of Kane County. So there's some fun memories associated with your area for me too. You can go to the next slide, please. Anyway, so because we're really keen on this idea of a regional urban forest and trees in general, one of our really critical tools for working in this area is data from the Morton Arboretum's tree census. The census was first conducted in 2010 and then was recently redone in 2020 to look at how things have changed. So the census looks at 1,600 plots, which are spread across the 7-county region to kind of extrapolate some key numbers of what's going on the ground. Coming up, I have a number of slides that have some really interesting info on the census. And I believe a copy of this was sent out with the agenda. So if you want to take a closer look, please do. But don't worry if you don't catch all the numbers here. I won't quiz you at the end. I used to teach, and so you guys are lucky. So the data here in the census is basically broken out into 2 chunks. We have the city of Chicago, and then everything else in the 7-county region. So you'll see on these slides how it's broken into Chicago and then 7 counties. So basically anything outside the actual municipality of Chicago is lumped together on a lot of these slides, but I do have some specific information for Kane. So we talked a moment ago about the benefits of trees, and in some cases the benefits can be quantified into dollars. The regional forest across the region provides more than $416 million annually in ecosystem services, and has an estimated replacement or structural value of $45 billion. So we're talking about some really big numbers here, a really valuable asset. The census showed us that there are over 172 million trees in the region, which cover about 23% of the total land area of those 7 counties. We can go to the next slide, please.
Could I ask a question, please, Zach?
Sure.
So European buckthorn, isn't that the one we're always cutting down in the, holy crap.
Yes, so I have a number of slides on invasives here coming up in just a second, so we'll dive into that issue for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so in Kane County specifically, right now there's a 21% canopy cover, which is up from 16% 10 years ago, which is really great to see that there's been an increase. And this is pretty much average for the region. So there's some places that have a little more or a little less, but this number is really only one piece of that urban forest pie though. So now we'll get into some other metrics. If you want to go to the next slide. One of the key metrics as foresters that we look at is diversity. So what we like to see is that no single species is making up too large of a proportion of a population. Diversity basically adds to the resilience of the forest because, for example, if a disease or insect comes in and wipes out a particular species, the whole forest is not wiped out. A good and unfortunate example of this is all the issues that the Midwest has had with the emerald ash borer, which has killed millions of our ash trees so far. With the 2020 data, we're able to look over this 10-year time and see how the composition has changed in the region. So our top species right now in terms of the number of individual trees are European buckthorn, box elder, black cherry, and amber honeysuckle. Two of these top four species are actually invasive, which, like I said, we're going to take a look at just a moment. So if you want to hop down to the next slide. So as we look at how the forest has changed, we can gain an understanding on which species are doing well and which ones we might need to watch out for. So this chart kind of just shows the same information as the previous one, but in a more side-by-side way that's a little easier for me at least to understand. We can look at the percent change in each of the most populous species in the 7-county region. Go to the next slide, please. So one concerning trend that we see is that these invasive plants are on the rise in the region. If you have a large proportion of a large population of invasives, they can outcompete native plants and cause harm to the ecosystems in your area. So 10 years ago, buckthorn, which is an invasive tree, made up 28% of the population, and now that number is 36%. So that means that on a stem for stem basis, more than a third of the trees across the 7 counties are this particular invasive tree. In all, the proportion of invasives rose 12% in the last decade. So what we'd like to see and what we've been working towards and really encouraging others to do is to eradicate invasives like buckthorn and honeysuckle. The CRTI has some really great resources for what to plant in their place that unfortunately I don't have enough time to get into today, but I'm more than happy to send them to you if you're interested. And those would be things like our Healthy Hedges, Healthy Homes, and Healthy Habitat programs. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So we also see new invaders on the horizon, like Russian olive, privet, and Callery pear. What we really want to avoid are allowing more invasive species to take hold and to increase this issue. Basically, catching these invasives early and taking strong action will be critical to ensure that they don't take over the place of our native species. Next slide, please. So in addition to species, another really critical component of diversity is size. We see in the census data that most of the trees in our region are a small diameter. So as we talked about in the tree benefits slide, what we really want to maintain and protect are those large trees that provide the most benefits. Again, we want to make sure that we're taking care of invasives so our larger native trees can thrive and grow into their mature size to supply those really critical ecosystem services. Next slide, please. So this has been a really short overview of the information available. If you're interested in reading more about the census, you can visit the Morton Arboretum's website, which is listed here, or if you just search Morton Arboretum tree census, it's really easy to find, it comes up right away. They do break some things down into the county level, but a lot of it is still kind of aggregated at that 7-county perspective. And this data was just released a few months ago. So as we have more time to dive into it and then combine it with our other tools, we'll be able to take some more specific recommendations for localized places. Next slide, please. Okay, so where does this leave us? We know that canopy cover in the region is a bit lower than we'd like. We know that our species diversity is leaning towards those invasives, and we know that it'll take some intervention to get things back on track. And for that to happen, people have to value their trees. The CRTI is currently working on these issues and more. And one of our most current projects is the Plant Trees for Communities initiative. Next slide, please. So the CRTI recognizes there's a lot of tree-related challenges that we're facing, and we want to help communities to basically look towards a brighter future with the planting of a tree. So for lots of people, trees act as a really tangible symbol of hope and the future. The Plant Trees for Communities initiative is acting as the first step towards our common goal of rebuilding the Chicago region's urban forest and to overall improve our quality of life. Next slide, please. So the Plant Trees for Communities campaign aims to plant 1 tree in each Chicago ward and every municipality, all 340 of them across the region in 2021. Now, while 340 trees may seem like a relatively small number, we think it's going to have a much bigger impact than just the trees themselves. This is a chance for us to get people excited about trees and to really start to value the nature that's around them. Next slide, please. So each tree here on our map represents a municipality or a ward, and we really want every one of them to join us in planting a tree and raising awareness for the importance of trees and the urban forest in their communities. Next slide. So far, we're off to a good start. Every tree on this map represents a community that has joined the initiative. And if communities can purchase their own tree for the project, that's fantastic. And if not, what we're trying to do is connect funders with these communities to support the planting of their trees. So on this map, all of these are committed communities who are who have joined the project. And the ones in purple are those that are in need of support, and the ones in green are the ones that are providing their own trees. So as you can see, we've got a good number going, but there's a lot of communities that haven't signed on yet. Next page, please. Thank you. So the CRTI website has a full page of information on the initiative, materials for communities, and info about how to get involved. We're encouraging communities to plant trees with municipal staff, residents, or a community group. And we have instructions for proper tree planting available for anyone that needs them. So contrary to popular belief, there's actually a right and a wrong way to plant trees to set them up for a really long and happy life. And because we want trees to succeed and have that long, healthy life, we require a commitment to water the tree in the growing season for the first 3 years, either by a municipality, a resident, or a community group. And we actually provide a bucket printed with watering instructions and everything in English and Spanish to make sure that that happens. So another critical component of this is that we provide a tag to hang on that tree that explains what the Plant Trees for Communities initiative represents. Basically a new start in 2021. It's a representation of a stronger, healthier, and more equitable future. And we can also provide information like press releases and resolutions to memorialize the event. Go to the next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I must have skipped one. If you want to go back up. So as of now, I'm told that there's only 2 Kane County municipalities that have signed up. So I asked that if you take anything away from my talk today, it's that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. So I ask that you'd all encourage the municipalities that you live in and work with to sign up for this initiative and plant a tree for their community. This event will help to launch a regional campaign to increase tree planting, especially in communities suffering from environmental equity issues, so that we can all experience cleaner air and water, reduce flooding and heat, and improve mental and physical health in a beautiful community. So we're looking to 2021 and to these new trees as that tangible symbol of hope for a stronger, healthier, and more equitable future. And with that, I think I have a little bit of time left over for some questions.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Strathman. I'm wondering if there is any thing being done to encourage the nurseries in this greater region to not sell these invasive species.
Is it against the law to sell buckthorn in Illinois?
Well, I know that burning bush is available everywhere,
Got one of those. I've got
and that's one of those that's also invasive. Is anything being done, Zach, that can encourage the nurseries to listen to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the CRTI has been working with the nursery industry for quite some time on a number of different issues. So we're looking at kind of, what species are available. That's a big part of it. And my answers to probably a lot of questions today will come down to education. So a lot of time the folks that are doing these projects, you know, they see the trees in a nursery and then they leave and they don't really see the long-term impacts in some instances. And so for us, reaching out to those nurseries and trying to do that education on this research is really critical. Trees are tough when it comes to invasiveness. You'll see throughout history, a lot of times the nursery industry will have a boom of a tree like Callery pear that they, you know, is a great urban tree. It does really well everywhere. And then 20, 30, 40 years later, we really find out it's invasive. And so what we strive to do, and what the Mortons, in some cases, and other botanical gardens across the country strive to do, is to figure out, you know, is something suitable for our area before it goes into that production cycle.
More questions? Ms. Olnicki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On that same note, that was a good question. There's a rather large development approved by the city of Elgin. It's roughly 500 homes on Silver Glen Road, and it's contiguous to our National Register of Historic Places, our Coron Farm. So we entered into an agreement with them before they even broke ground, asking them to make sure that all the trees they planted were native trees. And so that was, I think, a good move. You catch them before they even get started. Because I think a lot of times the developers on really large developments tend to buy the less expensive trees and maybe the fast growing trees, which could be very invasive.
Don't they call those contractor trees?
Yes, yeah, the Callery pear is one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we definitely said, please, no Callery pear.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And did you ask for diversity in their planting too?
Oh, definitely, just so that they're all native trees.
Right.
Yeah, because they're actually contiguous to the Coron Farm.
Right. Yeah, and that, you know, I see that as a really critical issue. From my understanding of Kane County, it's a little more, especially as you go out towards the west, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a little more rural, a little more agricultural. And so you've got larger tracts of that kind of native naturalized area. And so being careful of those invasives in places where they can easily spread is really critical. So thank you for doing that with your development.
Are all the trees you will be planting in your initiative native?
That's a great question. And I'm not entirely sure. My assumption would be yes, but I'm not over that project, so I'm not sure exactly which tree species have been selected. But I can assure you that to the best of our knowledge, they're either native or non-invasive.
That's true. There's non-natives that are non-invasive. I have one more question. Does anybody else have a question? I'll call on myself. So where are all these buckthorn? Are they in the woods or are they in people's backyards or?
It's everywhere. It really is. Yeah, and one of the kind of tough things about the way that this data is presented in the census is that aggregation. And so you don't necessarily always see the fine scale of it. But really, you know, I've just been walking around trying to get to know the area around where I am and around all the different areas that I've visited since I moved back up here. And there's just buckthorn everywhere. I mean, it's ubiquitous.
What a shame. Well, okay. Any other questions for Zach? Well, thank you so much, Zach. One more question. What can we do to help you? Is Aurora one of the native cities that is signed up? It looks like Aurora has a little tree in it.
I don't have the list in front of me, so I can't tell you for sure, but that would really be.
How can we help you?
Yeah, that would be the biggest thing, is to work to encourage the communities that you guys work with and are around to take a look into the initiative. Like I said, you know, if folks can't supply their own tree, we have some funding options. And so for us, getting the word out is really a critical part. So we'd hope to plant most of these trees in the spring, and we're kind of at the end of that planting season, but we will be planting again this fall. So the more that you can make connections, that would be really, really greatly appreciated. And so they can always contact anyone at the CRTI and we'll put them in touch with the right people. Or like I said, that website link on the slide above has all the information for where to go for the specific plant trees webpage, where you can get some information on who to contact.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Kais.
Oh, just an interactive map would be really handy so that when you're clicking on, you know which community
Okay.
is a participating member.
There's
Yeah.
a suggestion. Who
That-
plants the trees? Do you plant them or does the participating town plant them?
The participating town would plant them, yeah. Yeah, so what we really want is that buy-in, and by planting the tree themselves, it gives ownership. And that's a really critical part about, the management of urban forests, is that there has to be that aspect of ownership.
I just planted a apple tree, a McIntosh apple tree,
Great.
which was not easy because I planted it in the wrong spot. I had to dig it up and move it because it was shading my pollinator garden.
That's my favorite apple.
Aw.
So the native,
Pardon me?
non-native. No, back.
Is that a native?
Nope, it's actually not. But as far as I know, there aren't any issues with apples becoming weedy, so I think you're okay.
I don't think it's invasive. An invasive McIntosh apple tree. Okay, well, oh well, it's a very beautiful little tree. You can still eat them.
You can bring some
Okay.
once you start.
Yeah,
getting
when I
fruit.
get my bushels of apples. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Zach. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for.
thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, I would like to call on Jennifer Jarlin, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I have 3 items today for discussion. I didn't prepare any slides today, so you don't need to look at the screens. I'm just going to give you a few updates on recycling events. To start with, we had our household hazardous waste event on Saturday, the 5th of June in Aurora. That was a partnership event with the Illinois EPA and the city of Aurora and the county of Kane. And we all came together. We served, it was a 7-hour event, which was quite a long event in comparison to mine. So, and it was a very, very hot day. Mavis was out there. Tom showed up in the line and said, I'm here to volunteer. And it was great that he came because he was able to help us redirect the casino traffic, because it was right in that parking lot by the casino down there. And a lot of people were coming just for the casino and going, what the heck is going on here? So we managed all of that traffic, and we served 932 households. And we throughput 867 cars through that event. And I haven't got the numbers yet on how much we actually recycled of the household hazardous wastes, but all kinds of things came in, all the household chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, auto fluids, oil-based paints and stains, fluorescent tubes. It was great. And about 48% of the attendees were from Aurora, which is very interesting. And then the rest were from Batavia, Elgin, Geneva, St. Charles, and other Kane County towns. And then 8% were from out of county. And it was open to all. Excuse me. And the outreach was really successful. We actually used the City of Aurora's online scheduler to schedule the event so that the cars came very evenly throughout over the time. But a couple days before the event, it was like the week before, there was hardly any registrations. And we were a bit panicked, like, oh no, we've put the word out there, but obviously not enough. And then the City of Aurora did a email text blast, which I thought they had already done, but they hadn't. So they did it, and then boom. And our second article came out in Kane County Connects at the same time, and it totally filled up, like in a day and a half. So that was great. But mostly I worked out 80% of the people heard about the event through online sources, the Kane County Connects, social media and website, and the City of Aurora. And then 8% were newspaper. They heard from the newspaper, and most of them named the Beacon News as that source. And then 12% were from word of mouth. So that was all valuable information that we collected on the survey that our volunteers did. And the word of mouth also had a subcategory called "My wife told me to bring it." And that was the biggest word of mouth. It was awesome. So yeah, so we're all very, very happy. And just thanks again to all the volunteers who showed up, including the 2 board members. Very proud of them. And then an alderman, the newly elected 10th Ward alderman, Shweta Bade, showed up and with her husband as well, and volunteered for about an hour in there. So thank you to everybody. It was a very successful event, and it was paid for by the Illinois EPA, which is just a real blessing for us and our residents. The next event coming is the 26th of June,
and that will be a shred event. It's the second of 3 shred events that we're putting on this year. And we will have 3 shredding trucks. I tried to get 4 like we had last time and like we will have in October, but they only had 3 available. So I also negotiated an additional truck that is not a shredding truck. It doesn't shred on site, but it will hold the documents, take them to their facility and shred them there. So it's kind of like a backup plan for overflow. And if we fill the 3 trucks, it's there at the end and we'll just have to tell people, look, it's not being shredded on site, but it will be shredded. The truck is a secure truck and they can make their decision whether they leave it or drive on. So we should be covered for that. But again, it's going to be a very busy one.
Where is that going to be?
That's at 540 South Randall Road in St. Charles on the 26th from 8 to noon. I do have a good list of volunteers now. Some of them were the people that volunteered for our hazardous waste event, got them signed up again, as well as I have 4 board members on my list now, Cheryl and Mavis and Tom Copey. And Mark Davis also called me, and he's bringing his grandson as well to get some service hours in. And then he's also dedicated his some time in the July event of his granddaughters are coming as well. So that's awesome. So I love that kind of involvement and buy-in. It's really helpful because I need a lot of volunteers, especially for these shred events, so that we can get those cars unloaded as fast as possible and moved on. So anyway, that's my list of volunteers. If you can see it from there, it's like a nice full list. I'm really happy with that for the shredding event on the 26th. We do have the extravaganza coming up on the 10th of July. That's our July annual extravaganza that we do, where we do electronics, clothing, books, paint, plus bikes and styrofoam and fluorescent tubes and other things. I placed a poster in front of you there that you could have a look at. That's also available online. It has all of the different materials there that we'll be collecting. I am still looking for volunteers for that event. I have a decent list, but I still could use a good handful more people for that one as well. So if you know of anyone who'd be interested, please have them call me or email me and I'll get them on the list.
Did I sign up for that already?
I don't have that list in front of me.
That's okay.
I'll check it though.
I'll be there.
Okay, great. Thank you. And let's see. And then we have 3 events following that. So we have 5 total events left for the year. We have the shred event in June, the extravaganza in July. Then we have September 11th, electronics, clothing, books, and paint. And then on the 23rd of October is our 3rd and final shred event for the year. And then we have our little pumpkin recycling event following Halloween. And that's over at the farm in Geneva at the Pushing the Envelope farm. So that's the event update. If there's no questions, I'll just move on to the next. Okay, so the Mill Creek contract, I think I mentioned that in my update last month. I just wanted to give you an update that I've moved the timeline a little bit on that because it was just a bigger job than I suspected, kind of reviewing and updating that contract. I have now passed it up to purchasing and they're doing their magic on it to make sure that all the old boilerplate is still relevant, or if they need to update any of that, they are in the body of the contract. I did my work on the scope of work parts that really specify what the program is and what the services are that will be offered and the size and the color of the bins that we need and blah, blah, blah. So the bid will be issued on the 19th of July at this point. That's what we're aiming for, which still, I had planned the timeline with a good cushion in it. So it's okay that we've set it back a month because it will still be approved by the county board, hopefully if they approve it, on the 12th of October. And then the new contract would come into effect on the 30th of October. So it's all, I have the whole timeline. If anyone's more interested in that, happy to give you more information, but just wanted to update you that I changed the timeline a little on that. The final discussion point under recycling is that I just am so happy to announce that we are opening a new recycling center in Aurora, and it will be the 3rd one So we now have West Dundee in the north, and we have the central Batavia site, and we will now have a southern site in Aurora in partnership with Vet Tech at their facility. And that address is 911 Lake Street, North Lake Street, 911 North Lake Street in Aurora. And it's opening next, is it next Monday? No, Monday, the 21st of June.
Are we going to have a party?
You know, that was suggested, and I am so overwhelmed in my work right now that planning a party type,
So
like grand
Mavis,
opening
if you want a
event,
party, you know what you can do.
I
see the
I just
committee right
decided
there.
against.
Party committee sitting right there.
That's right. I mean, we can just do an impromptu one. I will be there, you know, for the opening morning.
What
But
time
we're
will
not
it-
doing a ribbon cutting or anything. So it's
Okay.
going to be, the hours will be Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So Monday, the 21st, it will open at 8 a.m.
Okay.
and it will be running 5 days a week, year round. We may add Saturday hours to the Aurora site and the Batavia site again when our events end. So maybe late September, early October, we haven't yet decided, but we'll have Saturday from 8 to noon hours at those two drop-offs again, so that people do have a weekend option
Nice.
for drop-off. Yep.
Let's talk. I would like to have a little celebration. I'll bring the cake or whatever.
Okay. So, and the items accepted will be electronics, clothing and textiles, appliances, and scrap metal. So we are doing those scrap metal down at Aurora as well. And the same cost will apply to TVs and monitors. I'll mention that. Yeah, and if there are any other questions, happy to take those.
I'd like to know what you do in your spare time.
I sleep, no.
You can't have very
And I
much.
sail. I sail on Lake Michigan.
Great,
Yes.
great. Thank you, Jen, for such a great report. All these reports are great. Now, any questions for Jennifer? Okay,
Sanchez with a question.
sure, go ahead, please, Mr. Sanchez.
Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Hi.
We just got an email this morning from somebody on the Environmental Council of Elgin, and they were asking about enforcement. What the process is, I think, for enforcing the recycling ordinance that we have.
Yes. So that is also in my job description. So the only way that we can enforce is on a report basis. So somebody has to call me and say, such and such a business or this, multifamily dwelling, this condo, this apartment is not recycling. And then I need them to provide me with the management's contact name and number and email. And then I contact them and give them the information. You may not be aware, there is an ordinance that requires you to provide recycling. Here's all the details, and I'll help connect you with your hauler. Here's how to negotiate a good price, that sort of email. And they usually come back to me and say, oh, we weren't aware. We'll do that right away. Sometimes it's a little harder than that, but that is part of my job. So I get them in compliance through just working with them to do that. So it has to be reported though before I would go out and enforce.
Okay, so you don't have a team of people inspecting every business?
No.
Okay, just
It's
checking.
me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for your report, Jen. And now I would like to call on our sustainability expert, Ivy Klee.
Thank you. I believe Karen Miller is going to give the first two presentations.
Yes, thank you, Ivy. The Fox Valley Sustainability Network has scheduled its next Zoom forum for Tuesday, June 29th from 10 o'clock a.m. to 11:15. And the topic this time is reducing carbon emissions in buildings, a look at green technologies, net zero energy buildings, and resources. Our speakers will talk about case studies on affordable housing and developing net zero buildings, also on net zero development in the Park District of Oak Park, green technologies and how they are being incorporated, and also to lowering greenhouse gas emissions. So you can sign up at the Fox Valley Sustainability Network.com at the website. Also, I just want to mention that this also helps to implement our 2040 energy plan.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's part of our requirements.
Well, to become a leader in the region in educating on energy and also to try and reduce greenhouse gas emissions
Good,
and
good.
also increase energy efficiency.
So I have a question. Does this include the new movement to limit gas, natural gas in cities and towns and houses? Will that be discussed?
You know, I'm not sure. That's possibly something for the Illinois Green Alliance to speak about, but if you would like to attend and ask that question,
I will.
That would be great. And if we don't, that might be a good topic for a future forum.
Okay. I'm getting emails, lots of emails about that. Okay, any questions for Karen about the Fox Valley Sustainability Network? All right, do you have the next item, Karen?
Yes. So each year, the Fox River Ecosystem Partnership holds an annual picnic, which is a combination of education and fun. This year, the picnic will be held at Les Aarons Forest Preserve on Route 31 in Batavia. Just recently, the date has been changed from July 14th to July 28th, starting at 4 p.m. We'll be having a presentation on native freshwater mussels by Jesse DiMartini. And also some of our members have been talking about getting into the river and actually looking for some mussels. So if you want to bring your boots and get in the river, you can do that, as well as bringing your own food and beverages. And for more information, you can go on the FREP website, foxriverecosystem.org.
It's so much fun to be
That
had
was the-
all at the same time.
It's going to be the 28th?
Yeah,
It's the 28th and not the 14th, yes.
I see.
Tuesday it looks like.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yep.
Am I doing this wrong? July 28th is Wednesday, okay. FREP picnic. I have some Sierra Club members who are interested in FREP right now, so I will invite them to that.
Excellent.
picnic as well.
That's
And,
a good way to introduce people
mhm.
to FREP, is to come to our picnic.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Any questions for Karen? Bring your own food. And Les Aarons is a wonderful park and it's very, very near to here. Okay, does everybody know where Les Aarons is? It's right on 31.
It's on the flyer too.
Okay, okay, back to Ivy.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I have a resolution today to present to you for your consideration. The resolution authorizes the creation of an electric aggregation civic contribution fund. So this item was not budgeted. However, it is a revenue only, no expense to the county, and it will be an adjustment to the fiscal year 2021 budget. So the resolution authorizes a creation of a new fund for the electric aggregation program civic contribution. So just a reminder, King County went into a 2-year green aggregation contract with Eligo Energy in May of 2021. And the green aggregation program comes with a civic contribution, which is different from the electric aggregation programs that the contracts that we've had in the past. So the civic contribution will need a new fund for the funds to be deposited into and to be kept separate from other funding sources. And the discussion on how the funding will be spent will be held at a later date by this committee. So as of right now, this is just a holding place for the funding. And we're asking for approval of this resolution today.
Caius move.
Thank you. Second, please. Thank you, Monique. Any discussion of the resolution?
So is it the appropriation amount for 2 years or just 1 year?
So we get a civic contribution monthly. The civic contribution is awarded each year.
Okay.
So the civic contribution will be awarded each month, paid within 30 days of the last day of each meter read cycle date. So we'll get contributions to this fund monthly over August 2021 to August 2023.
Great. Okay, we have the motion. We have a second. Any other questions? Take the roll, please.
Allen,
Alan, aye. Thank you.
Caius,
Guys, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Bates.
Yes,
Passes.
thank you. Do you have anything else you need to say about the,
Yes, I do. So thank you for approving the resolution. Just some electric aggregation program updates. You can go to the next slide, please. So today there were notices mailed to notify residents who will be a part of the program, just to let them know about this new contract with Eligo Energy. So notices were mailed to each household and participating citizen on today. So if anybody's talking about it, they might get something in the mail today. And then there will also be a press release to announce the new contract with Eligo Energy. That should be in the Kane County Connects newsletter next week. So feel free to look out for that and let me know if you have any questions. If you hear of anybody who has any questions, feel free to direct them my way.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Ms. Bates? You may ask your question. So does the letter explain that there's no change in the price and things like
Yes,
that?
so there were 4 different notices that went out, and each was specific to whatever program each, or whatever plan each household is on. So all the notices were informational, just to make the customer aware that they don't have to do anything, but there is going to be a new provider for the electric aggregation program, and also to let them know that this time around, the program will use green energy. So there's the EPA minimum 18% of green energy that they're going to be able to receive at no extra cost. And they'll be paying the ComEd rate.
Do we anticipate any screams and shouts, any pushback or?
So based on what our NIMEC consultant Sharon Durling has told me, there's usually a few people who call in just, because they're getting a notice, and sometimes they're, concerned it's not from the county or something like that. So there might be a few calls or a few
You get
questions
those
concerned.
calls? Will you be getting those calls?
Yes, all the calls will be forwarded my way, and if I can't answer them, then Sharon will be able to answer them.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Any other questions about the aggregation program? No? Okay. Is there any new business? Are there any public comments? No? Well, I asked our clerk to add Chairwoman's comments to our agenda. So I want to say that Ms. Wolnick and I will be looking into some water projects that might be suitable for the American Rescue Plan. That will be that's one of the 4 issues for the American Rescue Plan. So we might be able to do some great things for King County's water, I hope. I would also like to say that the governor's version of the clean energy bill dropped last night, maybe after, I don't know when. I mean, I was at a town hall meeting with all of my legislators last night and they didn't know it. But I would please beg you to call your legislators to vote for this bill. It's the best hope we have for stopping climate change and providing clean energy and an equitable basis and closing down coal plants in Illinois. All of these things have to be done for our health, our safety, our future. And So that's my speech. Please call many times. I don't know. And then I would like to invite you all of you to our Sierra Club picnic, which is Monday night. It's going to be at Johnson's Mound. And we are providing box lunches if you let me know that you're coming. So just text me and say, Mavis, save me a box lunch. If you have a preference, I think it'll be roast beef or turkey or vegetarian. And we're splurging. It's the end of the year. It's the end of COVID. As we know it, I hope. I hope. Is there any other comments from any other questions? Any other comments? We have no need to go into executive session. So I would, oh, thank you. Does it say that? Oh, thank you, Ms. Chapman.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Please take the roll.
Alan,
Alan,
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Winicky,
Yes.
Bates.
Yes.
Yeses.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Caius move.
Thank you,
Strathman
Mr.
seconds.
Strathman seconds. Voice vote? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you to our wonderful staff for this committee.